As Sergio Pérez took the checkered flag at the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix for his first victory in Formula One, having been running last on the first lap, it seems incredible that the Mexican, a 10-year veteran of the sport and seemingly at the height of his powers, was without a drive for 2021. That fact could be viewed as symbolic of a career with more than its fair share of ups and downs, but standing on that top step, he was making a statement. Checo was no has-been. He was a racer and a winner. Proof of his future prowess was evident from the age of 6. In his first season of karting, he claimed 4 victories and came runner-up in his category. In 1998, he was crowned the junior ranked youngest champion. Moving to Europe to pursue his dream in 2005, he competed in Formula BMW in Germany for Keke Rosberg's team, before switching to and comfortably winning the British Formula 3 Championship in 2007. In GP2, he drove for Campos and then Arden International, where he finished the 2010 season as runner-up to another future F1 driver, Pastor Maldonado. Perez's talent was obvious, and that autumn he was announced as Sauber's replacement for the departing Nick Heidfeld, joining the Ferrari driver development program in the process. His star was ascending. Pérez made his Formula One debut at the 2011 Australian Grand Prix. It was both impressive and not without incident.
22 of the world's finest drivers waiting on 5 simple red lights, and then the season is underway.
Starting P13, he demonstrated a skill he would become renowned for, one of the most important in modern motor racing: tyre management. Checo pitted on lap 23 and didn't stop again until he saw the checkered flag, finishing his rookie race an impressive P7. But sadly, both he and teammate Kamui Kobayashi would be disqualified. Sauber's cars were found to have irregularities in the construction of the rear wing. Deviations which, although apparently the result of manufacturing error rather than deliberate design, were in breach of the FIA's technical directives.
My debut is something very special for me. I will never forget this one, and I'm looking forward for the future.
Retained for 2012, Checo really came of age in the second race of the season at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Second place was a phenomenal achievement. 2 further podiums followed, P3 in Montreal and another superb second place at a sunny Monza. Perez's impressive driving was enough to convince McLaren that it should be him to replace the departing Lewis Hamilton for 2013, a move which also marked the end of his time as a member of the Ferrari stable of drivers. Neither he nor teammate Jenson Button travelled the top steps that season, the first time since 1980 that the Woking outfit had failed to score a podium. But the McLaren men had their moments, including some wheel banging in Bahrain between the pair.
He just hit me up the back. Oh, me down.
At the Monaco Grand Prix, he was accused of being overly aggressive with his moves, including one which caused a collision with the Lotus of Kimi Räikkönen. But despite his ruthless determination, a season-best finish of P5 at the Indian Grand Prix was a far cry from the podium successes of his Sauber years. His seat for 2014 was handed to a rookie, Kevin Magnussen, and Checo was on the move again. Pérez signed a lucrative deal to drive for Force India in an all-new lineup, beside another former Sauber driver, Nico Hülkenberg. In a season dominated by the Mercedes pairing of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, wins and even second spots were hard to come by. But at the Bahrain Grand Prix, Checo scored his first podium for the team. 2015 saw a continued improvement in form and fortune, with Pérez amassing 78 points and 9th place in the Drivers' Championship, his best yet. His sole podium that year came in Sochi, where he once again demonstrated his skill at conserving tyres, one stopping on lap 12 and then nursing his fading rubber as the lap count diminished. 2016 saw greater success with a dream podium in Monaco after another fantastically managed race. And despite a grid penalty for a gearbox change in Azerbaijan, he took 3rd place on the final lap of the European Grand Prix with a superb pass on the Ferrari of Kimi Räikkönen. 101 points saw him take 7th in the Drivers' Championship that season, and helped force India to 4th in the Constructors. Despite being linked with moves to a number of teams for 2017, Pérez re-signed for another year, this time alongside Mercedes Academy driver Esteban Ocon. And there were fireworks.
The two Force Indias collide and they come a cropper there.
Just keep going. Oh, that could have been an airplane crash.
For the second time in this race, they have touched.
Despite the friction, Force India persevered with the same driver lineup for 2018. But they would face an even greater challenge that year, one in which Checo would be a major player. Facing severe financial problems, the team faced bankruptcy midway through the season. A winding up order would have seen them cease to function as a racing concern, leading to hundreds of job losses. To counter this, Pérez and a number of other creditors took legal action. The team was placed into administration and was ultimately rescued by a consortium led by billionaire Lawrence Stroll, the father of then Williams driver Lance. Enforcing the action, Pérez saved the team. Reborn as Racing Point Force India for the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix, Pérez placed 5th with Ocon 6th in a dream scenario. In 2019, Lance Stroll moved to his father's team to partner Pérez in their first full season as Racing Point, during which Checo managed points finishes in 11 races, but also endured a run of 8 pointless Grand Prix, the worst streak of his career so far. But from the moment their 2020 Challenger was unveiled, the RP20 looked certain to be competitive. And having signed a contract extension that would see him drive for the team to the end of 2022, Pérez scored impressive points finishes in the first 3 races of the season. Everything seemed to be falling into place. However, ahead of the British Grand Prix, Pérez became the first Formula One driver to test positive for coronavirus. He was subsequently withdrawn and missed the following race. But on his return to the fold, the reinvigorated Mexican had a streak of 9 consecutive points finishes as the RP20 lived up to its promise.
He judged that to absolute perfection.
Yet there was news in May that 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel would leave Ferrari at the end of the season, and rumours of negotiations for the German to join Racing Point were rife. Then, on the eve of the Tuscan Grand Prix, Pérez made a shock announcement. Now, without a drive for the coming season, Pérez stated he had no plan B and continued with his impressive performances. In Turkey, he hung on to 2nd place under intense pressure from both Ferraris to cap off an incredible wet weather drive.
Sergio Pérez on the podium!
Yes, Checo, yes!
P2.
Well, man, one more lap and the tire will have exploded.
You are as good as your last race, so it's important to finish on a high, and the rest is not on my hands.
And as the teams arrived at the penultimate race of the season, the Sakir Grand Prix, it seemed unimaginable that a driver with such talent and experience was unable to secure a drive for 2021. As if to prove the point, Pérez underlined his credentials with a superb last-to-first drive in one of the most dramatic and exciting races of the modern era.
Pérez is caught by Charles Leclerc and his 3 cars gone off!
With nothing to lose, he went on a charge, working his way through the field from the back. This pass on his old sparring partner, Esteban Ocon, saw Pérez move into the podium places, with just the two Mercedes ahead of him. An incredible recovery drive. But he wasn't done yet.
They're not happy with his left front.
This is costing Bottas. Oh, his brakes are on fire now as well.
Okay, George, we're going to need to box. We had a mixed tyre set on the car.
A tyre mismatch in the pits saw both Silver Arrows lose places as the mistakes were rectified. And Pérez found himself at the head of a race he so nearly had been knocked out of. It was a lead he would not relinquish.
Sergio Pérez comes home to win the Sakir Grand Prix.
Yes, Checo, P1. Yes.
I'm speechless, guys.
Are we really going to say goodbye to this driver at the end of this season?
What happens is not so much in my hands at the moment, but I know, and I want to keep going.
After a decade competing at the highest level, Sergio Pérez finally tasted the victor's champagne and thought he would be out of a job in a week. But how could Formula One let a man of such talent just slip away? The answer was, it couldn't. And so Pérez's Formula One journey continues with Red Bull Racing, a team that has experienced the ultimate success on multiple occasions and can truly challenge for victories and championships. Don't bet against there being yet more thrilling chapters in the story of Checo's incredible career.